Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we need to jump right into a story that absolutely rocked the global sports landscape. We're talking about a massive, highly secretive plan to effectively sell off a stake in the world's most popular sporting event, the FIFA World Cup. The sheer scale of this proposal, and honestly, the speed at which it completely fell apart, is truly unprecedented in modern sports history.
So, the $20 billion question we're exploring today is pretty simple. How exactly did a deal of that magnitude collapse in just 1 week? We're going to dive into how Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA and arguably the most powerful man in sports, pushed a monumental commercial proposal that didn't just fail, but sparked a unified global rebellion that's put his very leadership in serious jeopardy.
To really wrap our heads around this story, we've got to start with this staggering valuation, $20 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. FIFA was looking to package its absolute most valuable assets, the commercial rights to mega tournaments like the World Cup and the Club World Cup, into a single high-value corporate entity.
But then, on the flip side, we have this much smaller yet incredibly powerful number, $40 million. Think of this as the massive financial carrot being dangled in front of every single member federation around the globe to get them to sign off on the plan. As you'll see, FIFA was heavily banking on this massive payout to win the votes of smaller footballing nations. Section 1. The secret $20 billion plan and the $40 million incentive. The whole thing hinged on this ambitious and super secretive proposal named FIFA Forward Enterprise. The idea was to create a brand new subsidiary to manage these global tournaments. And the structure was striking. A consortium of private investors, led by Joshua Kushner's Thrive Capital, was gearing up to raise $4.2 billion to purchase a 20% stake in this new company. Now, FIFA would retain 80%, but for the very first time, private equity would have a permanent seat at the table of global football. And let me tell you, these investors weren't just buying in to sit quietly on the sidelines. A leaked JP Morgan sales deck actually revealed goals that were heavily commercial. We're talking growing the tournament portfolio, securing third-party debt financing, and prioritizing high-yield partnerships. But here's the real kicker for fans at home. They wanted to immediately expedite expanding the Men's World Cup to a massive 64 teams by 2030. It was a move that would fundamentally alter the tournament as we know it. Looking at the payouts side by side, it's pretty obvious why this was so incredibly tempting for smaller nations. Under the current system, member associations get about $8 million over a 4-year cycle. Under this new FIFA Forward Enterprise plan, that payout would skyrocket to $40 million. They were basically being promised access to a new $10 billion funding package that would kick in starting in January 2027. Basically, Infantino put the 211 member associations in a total pressure cooker. Accept the deal by a super strict September 19th deadline, share in a $10 billion package, and hey, even get a $20 million signing bonus just for agreeing. Reject it, you get the status quo, which is a much smaller $2.7 billion expansion. It was a stark, almost ultimate financial choice. Section 2. The Global Football Revolts. But rather than just blindly accepting this giant cash influx, that crazy fast timeline actually triggered an unprecedented global backlash. The loudest and most immediate opposition came right out of Europe. The European governing body, UEFA, issued this scathing, remarkably blunt statement condemning the whole opaque process. They literally called out secret schemes on fast-track timelines, cooked up by faceless individuals. UEFA was so enraged, all 55 of its member associations unanimously voted to boycott all FIFA tournaments if this plan went through. But UEFA's pushback wasn't just about the sneaky process, right? It was deeply ideological. The true friction at the heart of this revolt was the intense fear that outside private equity would permanently hijack the sport's priorities. They argued that the moment external investors acquire ownership, football changes forever. Every decision is no longer driven by what actually serves the sport, but rather by what best serves shareholder profits. And what happened next? Honestly, it was pretty remarkable. Usually divided football confederations united almost overnight in their outrage. UEFA threatened a total boycott. CONCACAF, representing North and Central America, demanded a full review of FIFA leadership. The Asian Football Confederation stepped up, expressing serious governance concerns. And major national federations publicly condemned Infantino. Between UEFA, CONCACAF, and the AFC, they held 90 votes against the plan. If you do the math, that made it mathematically nearly impossible for Infantino to secure the 106 votes he actually needed to pass the thing.
Section 3. The Inside Defections. Things really heated up when the rebellion breached Infantino's own inner circle, and it happened in spectacular fashion. Carlos Cordero, he's a former Goldman Sachs banker, former president of U.S. Soccer, and crucially, a senior advisor to Gianni Infantino. He publicly resigned, and he definitely did not go quietly. He issued a blistering statement saying he opposed the deal unequivocally. He pointed out that selling a permanent stake in football's most valuable asset to raise $4.2 billion made absolute zero sense, especially considering FIFA already operates without debt. But even more stunning, you almost never see this happen in major organizations, was the very public defection of FIFA's own chief operating officer, Kevin Lamore. He actively went to the press declaring that the plan was the project of one person. He stated that senior staff had been utterly deceived by the president's lack of transparency, going as far as to say that leaders deserve better than contempt and intimidation. Look, when your own COO is risking his job to speak out, the institutional crisis is undeniable. When you map out the anatomy of this collapse, the sheer speed is just breathtaking. On Tuesday, the secret JP Morgan deck leaks to the press. 2 days later, on Thursday, Europe is threatening a total global boycott. By Friday, Asia and the Americas join the backlash, and Infantino's own senior staff start jumping ship. And by the early hours of Saturday morning, Infantino is forced to publicly scrap the entire $20 billion proposal, from a massive launch to a total smoking crater collapse in exactly 5 days.
Section 4. The Fallout for FIFA.
So bright and early Saturday morning, Infantino officially pulls the plug. He puts out a statement claiming his intent was always to bring parties back together and confirming the proposal would not proceed. It was a massive, incredibly humiliating U-turn. But notice what's completely missing from the aftermath: broad support. Notably, only the Qatar Football Association issued a statement supporting his decision and his ongoing leadership. The rest of the world, they were demanding answers.
Emboldened by this rapid victory, the major federations absolutely are not backing down. They're now demanding real structural reform. Their demands are crystal clear: a full, robust review of FIFA's leadership, an immediate overhaul of how money is distributed, and a very logical point: they want FIFA to utilize its massive existing $5 billion cash reserves to fund grassroots development. They're basically saying, use the money we already have instead of selling off our equity to Wall Street. Which brings us to the very real, very brewing political storm for Gianni Infantino. Before this crazy week, he was totally expected to run completely unopposed for re-election in March. Now, the landscape has completely shifted. European officials are actively seeking challengers before the fast-approaching November 18th deadline. Heavy-hitting names being floated include PSG President Nasser Al-Khelaifi, CONCACAF President Victor Montagliani, and AFC President Salman Al-Khalifa. Infantino's iron grip on FIFA has significantly, visibly slipped.
And that leaves us with a massive final thought for today's explainer. The $20 billion proposal? It's dead and gone. But the monumental task of rebuilding trust across the globe has literally only just begun. So the fundamental question hanging over the world's most popular sport right now is simply this: can Gianni Infantino actually survive a crisis of his own making, or will this failed corporate buyout be the spark that ends his reign over global football? It is a fascinating, fast-moving story, and we will definitely be watching it closely. Thanks for hanging out and unpacking this with me.